So welcome to another unboxing video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander, and today we are embarking upon something of an odyssey. Now, if you've been around the Players Aid, you might know that I personally am not the biggest ACW fan, American Civil War. And yet, you see before you, On to Richmond 2, The Union Strikes South, from Multi-Man Publishing. And I know it's crazy. I realize that, but I have recently, and not just because this game came out, I've been more interested in this specific system. And I say that because this is the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War system. This one's volume 13. And the more I talk to people about this, and it's cropped up in a few conversations that I've had, people really, really like this system, and it's not super duper mega complicated. There are some of those games where they get bogged down in minutia, and if you don't like the topic, that is even more of a turnoff. So I hope for very good things from this. This is the latest in that series. It was just released from MMP, and they had it at WBC, and I thought, you know what, if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. So it was a much bigger box than I thought it was going to be, and there's a lot of game in here, but people say it's very, very, very good. So I never thought I would say this. That's not true. I never thought I would say this about an ACW game, but I'm actually really excited to try this. My table isn't currently big enough for it, but one day it will be. But I think we'll play some smaller scenarios in it just to grok the system and kind of let you know how that is. So, big old, is this a 3-inch box, I think? Two little red and white D6 that you expect from MMP. They have those in every single game, I swear. But there's a lot of vacant space, and that's because this game has like 5 counter sheets, and you're going to need the counter trays for it. So I don't begrudge that. I actually appreciate they made a box big enough to hold all of that in it. And let's just kind of dig on in. So we have the On to Richmond, the Peninsula Campaign, April through July 1862, and this is not a small book. This is, what, 64 pages, and the typeface is the font is very small. But I believe this is like all of the basic game scenarios and setups. This is everything you can do with this box. And all the different special rules. So like this is just like scenarios and setups and like little unique rules for those games. That's 65 pages of stuff. That's so much stuff. That's a staggering amount of scenarios in this. And again, that's part of why I'm like, okay, let's dive on into something that, you know, this is On to Richmond 2. It's gone through a second edition, basically. The series has been out for a long time. This is volume 13. So it should be nice and polished and very clean and easy to get to grips with. You know what? I'm just going to get everything out of here because this is nuts how much stuff is in here. Okay, let's get the box out of the way. Oh, and for everyone who wants to look at the back of the box, here's the back of the box. A little screenshot of Richmond. And it's, you know, the complexity is in the medium to low. Like, this is volumetrically a big game, but if you watched our Ardennes 2 video, Ardennes 2 had a medium complexity. And for reference, here's the proof. This, in theory, is simpler than SES. And if that's the case, I don't know how it can be. But if it really is like as easy to get into as a system like that, this is why I'm very excited for this. A lot of other ACW games end up, once again, very crunchy and lots of math, and they take forever. Yeah, this is a big game that would take forever to play the whole thing, but if I can play some small scenarios or some one-mappers in one big session, and it's easy to do and to manipulate, That's how you're going to get me into the ACW, straight up. That's it. So we're just going to kind of go through, this big stack is kind of all over the place. We're just going to go through it here. So we've got, this is the first counter sheet, and as you can see, we got Union and Rebel troops, or Union and Confederates. Infantry, right? Infantry with infantry values, and then different colors for the infantry backgrounds, I would presume, that correspond to their respective commanders of the formations. And hopefully we can do formation activations in this one. The reverse side is all of the reduced strength sides of those. Very normal of what you might expect from a game like this. We then have our terrain effects chart, and this is the standard terrain effects chart. See terrain features, some terrain features are not found in all games. So this is across all the different 13 volumes, and there is a backside as well. So this has your movement point costs in rain turns, and then also any notes, which is if it has an effect on combat, all that kind of stuff as well. We're going to take a look at all the maps afterwards, because there's, I think, 5 of them. It might be 4. Hits counter sheet 2, ton more guys, and I presume, I don't know for sure, that a lot of these, I hope these are actually organized by game and scenario and map. That would be really helpful. So you're not going to punch these and add these to those ones. You're going to punch these. This is what you're going to use for this particular map or this part of the campaign. I really like it when games do that. GBOH, the new ones do that, which is really good. But again, all your different troops, orange formation, red, green, blue, that correspond to your different colored commanders as well. Then we have our On to Richmond 2 charts and tables, version 1.5. I would like to think that there's another one of these, so that each player can have one. So how and when the game's going to end, our little sequence of play, retreat charts on the back. And the one thing that I would say is get your readers out. This is quite a small font, which is fine, because I would prefer to have everything condensed onto like one, dual-sided play aid than have like 5 play aids that were larger, because managing that's a bit more of a pain on my table, I think. Combat charts, etc. So then we have the Great Campaigns of the American Civil War standard basic game rules, and this is most likely what I will be using, especially to start with. So this is the standard series rules for all of the boxes, and I say that because I also bought this one, so don't be mad at me. I heard that one was really good. Yes, series rules for the basic game, which implies that there is advanced game rules in here somewhere, and or somewhere, but I'm not necessarily as interested in going into advanced rules that quickly. So, breakdown of your counters, zones of control, movement, attacking, force markers, artillery, recovery. This is what, 23, 24 pages of rules? But that's also, like I said, a very small font size and not a lot of diagrams. So there's a lot of rules, but hopefully, once again, we're on version 1.5. If I gotta learn this, but that's gonna carry me into like 3 or 4 other boxes at least, I feel pretty good about that. And I'm just very curious to see how that plays out. Now the map, we will talk about the maps again later. So these are organization markers, I believe. So these have a value on them, and they say org on them. And on the flip side, you have the disorg markers. So presumably, I don't remember if this is one of those games where when you move, you disorganize. I can't remember if that's this system. There's a few that do that. But we have, different redoubts, different artillery pieces, different supply depots as well. Here's the other blade, the charts and tables 1.5. So we do have one for both players. That's nice. Appreciate that. So then we have the Petersburg campaign. So I don't know if you remember, we had the On to Richmond Peninsula campaign, right? That was 65 pages. Now we have the 65 pages of the Petersburg campaign. And once again, there's a couple of special rules, and it is all scenarios. And this is a box that, okay, I'm going to level with you. I paid $165 for this. And so far, I am seeing $165 worth of content. If I was to play all of this, this is probably one of the better values out there. $165 seems like a lot, but that is an unconscionable amount of stuff in this for playtime and play-wise. I've paid a similar amount for a lot less, is what I would say. We have here our force display for the Union. Let me get the Rebel one out as well. So, I think there are force markers in here, so that you can organize your pieces on here, and then you have like just your little force 1 counter moving around on the campaign displays and stuff. So we've got 10 holding boxes here, movement track, and victory points as well. So that's for the Union player, single-sided. For the Confederate player, also single-sided as well. This one has the Grant takes command turn track on it. This one doesn't. It's Grant takes command. That's this one here. So here's the Confederate org markers and disorg markers. Here we have control markers, and then there's the Union side on the back as well. And then some naval operations and bits and pieces for naval moves. Some unique counters, I'm not really sure what those are. And this is the... yeah. Oh, this is what we're talking about. So... okay. The Grant Takes Command book. Also like 72 pages. So this is all the scenarios for the Grant Takes Command campaign. And this is 1864. Look at all these scenarios. I mean, I don't even know how to describe how much you're getting. This is all scenarios and setups. The nice thing about this game is, and this is one of the things that people were like talking about, and also were like saying that this is why this game's so good, is because of the Grant Takes Command campaign. And you have this overland campaign system, and it shows the kind of the map setup, and you march guys out in and around, and then they come into the Hex Encounter Theatre map, and you're going to fight battles on there. And people say this is so good. And so this is one of the big draws to this particular game, which I'm pretty excited for as well. On the back of it, we have the Petersburg campaign track, because if you're playing the Petersburg campaign, you're not using this. So big old long campaign though, if you want to do the whole thing. Some random events tables and little command tracks down here as well. And the last counter sheet, again we've got 4 maps we'll take a look at here. Fort building going on, breastworks, abatis, I probably should know how to say that word, but I do not. Forts, more breastworks, fatigue markers, much higher fatigue markers, removal of supply, fatigue 2 and 4 as well. So more kind of like admin markers or field works basically there. So lots of counters. So let's take a look at the maps. Good gracious, there's a lot of these. So let's start with whatever this one is. This is On to Richmond. The name of the game. So this is the On to Richmond map, which is, this one's fun. I enjoy these maps, parts of like New England and the East Coast former colonies, because they carry a lot of the same English names. So for example, it's probably pronounced differently over here, But this is Gloucester, and Gloucester is a town in the Midlands where my mum was born and grew up, and that's where like half my family lives. So it's just fun seeing like, oh, it's Gloucester. But as you can see, really nice looking maps, especially from the very fine artwork detail. I'm going to actually hold this up to the camera so that you can see this, because I don't know if I can just do it justice by doing that. Totally meaningless per se, but look at those light green hexes. They have all sorts of unique, different little, you know, topographies and plowed fields and orchards. The more I stare at these maps, the more I'm kind of staggered by how much detail is on those, and none of them have different effects from one to the other. I just think that's really, really, really cool. So that was that map. And then the rest of these are, this is the On to Richmond South map. Let's open up this one. So, we had the north map. You can see that here's the bottom of Gloucester, Warwick, Surrey, Sussex. A lot of those are counties in England. Chesterfield. I like this, the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight is a very small island just off the south coast, south of Southampton and Portsmouth, where I grew up. I used to go camping there all the time. Just seeing it randomly on this map is quite funny. So this is going to line up. How's this lining up? That's up here. Okay, so that's quite a lot. You can't tell. But it's all the way up here. Looks something like this. A bit further up. There you go. Looks something like this-ish. There you go. That's a bit better, isn't it? Big old maps. But this has all of our turn tracks on it. It has all of our strategic tables. Random end of action cycle table, basic and advanced sequence of play. I think we'll be doing basics just to start with. And we have all of this stuff over here. This is our kind of off-map movement for this particular campaign. And it just kind of points, hey, if you're doing this and moving this way, you're going to come in over here on this particular part of the map, for example. Just think that's a very unique, I mean, it might not be, but a unique way of looking at things and actually building a game around that kind of thing. So that's the first two maps. Now let's look at the Grant Takes Command maps. So this is the south map for Grant Takes Command. And I believe these ones don't have quite so many charts on them because we have this display. And I think the turn track is printed on this play aid. But, happy to be wrong. So this is the south map. So we'll see how these overlay. And this is the north map. And I think there's another map that kind of goes over the two of them. Oh, this is all the way up here. Okay. This is like way, way, way up here. But once again, really, really a big fan of the map artwork, especially the little details in them. It's just going to be a pleasure to play on this kind of map with these counters. I'm looking forward to this incredibly. This is, and once again, there's a lot of paper in this game, but those the 1.5 rules, not that bad. That was not that terrible. I've learned a lot more. So, and once again, I will be doing the basic stuff, and the little basic sequence of play had like 4 or 5 steps instead of like 10 or 12. So that's where we'll start. Going to learn all this and kind of dive on in. Probably only play one of the smallest scenarios to start with to figure out the system and the crunch of that, and then expand on it, getting bigger and bigger from that. So I know this is not necessarily our normal fare here at the Player's Aid, but this game had a lot of hype. A lot of people who I know and I kind of respect their opinions opened a door where they were like, I don't know. I just never really like considered this system, and when it was talked to me about what it can do and what it does, and how it's not super mega complicated, I thought, oh, and you know, it's always nice when there's a new package and it's kind of in the zeitgeist, and it's like, okay, cool, I can get on board with this. So I'm actually really excited for this. Again, to the point at which I bought Stonewall 2 like an idiot, but I heard that one was like amazing. So. This is the new one, the massive one. But Stonewall 2 is like, it was told, I was told it was very, very, very good as well. So, you know what? I'm going to dive on in. We're going to play them. It's going to be a great time. I'm excited. A lot to look forward to. And I'm pretty sure that Grant will also, because I don't play a lot of ACW games with him. So I think this will be a great opportunity to play some of that as well. Which might, I think he'll be happy that I'm willing to concede an ACW game and we'll play one, because normally I'm like, I don't want to do it. So I think he gets a good ACW experience out of this as well, which will be nice. But that was a look at everything, and I mean everything that was in the box for Onto Richmond 2. Thank you very much for sticking with me. This was a longer one. There is a lot in here, and I'm very excited to kind of get to grips with it. It might be a little bit before we do, because I think we're going to try to play some World War I games in August, because we did not learn our lessons from last time. But on to Richmond 2. Look at that. Fit that all back in the box. I got a punch and clip 5 counter sheets. I'm not really looking forward to that, but thank you very much for sticking with us, and appreciate you tuning in. I've been Alexander from theplayersaid.com.